Imagine buying a $2,000 laptop. Fast forward a few years, and that same laptop has actually cost you over $3,500, not because you bought another one, but because of interest. Here's the scary part. Millions of Americans don't realize this is happening until they're already buried in debt. Credit cards aren't evil, but if you don't understand how they work, they can quietly become one of the biggest obstacles to building wealth. I know this firsthand because I lived it. I'll get into my own story in a bit, but for now, just know this. What happened to me is happening to millions of people right now, and most of them don't even realize it yet. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how credit cards work, why banks love minimum payments, how APR really works, and how your credit utilization is secretly shaping your credit score. Let's get into it. What a credit card actually is. A credit card isn't free money, it isn't extra income, and it definitely isn't an extension of your paycheck. A credit card is simply borrowed money. Every time you swipe that card, the bank is saying, go ahead, we'll pay for it now, you just pay us back later. Think of it like borrowing your friend's truck. You fully expect to return it. A credit card works the same way, except instead of borrowing a truck, you're borrowing money. The problem starts when people forget it isn't theirs. And I mean that literally, because that's exactly the mistake I made. One of the main reasons why I started this channel, back in college, I did what a lot of college kids do. I signed up for my first credit card because everyone told me the same thing. You need to build credit. So I got the card, and at first I was responsible. A small charge here, pay it off there. It felt like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. But slowly, that changed. A textbook here, a night out there. I'll just put gas on the card and pay it back next paycheck moment. That turned into a habit. Nothing ever felt like a big deal in the moment. It was $20 here, $40 there. But those small swipes added up faster than I ever expected. Before I knew it, I wasn't just using the card for convenience. I was using it to cover gaps I didn't actually have the money to cover. And that's the moment a credit card stops being a tool and starts being a trap. By the time I actually sat down and looked at what I owed, it wasn't the amount that scared me the most. It was realizing how normal it had felt getting there. Nothing about it felt reckless in the moment. It just accumulated. I don't want anyone else finding out the hard way months or years later that the card they got to build credit quietly became the thing holding them back. So let's break down exactly how that happens. Starting with the part of the statement most people skip right past, how spending and statements work. Let's say your credit limit is $5,000. You buy groceries, gas, a new TV, a nice dinner with friends. After a couple weeks, you spent $1,200. At the end of the month, your credit card company sends you a statement saying you owe $1,200. Now you have three choices. You can pay the full amount, you can pay part of it, or you can pay the minimum payment. Only one of those choices makes the bank unhappy. Can you guess which one?
Yep.
Paying it all off. And that's not an accident. The bank wants you to carry that balance because the moment you do, they start charging you interest. And that interest is where they make their money. How APR really works. One of the biggest myths is that if your credit card says 24% APR, you'll only be charged interest once a year. That's not true. APR stands for annual percentage rate, but interest is actually calculated every single day on most credit cards. Here's an easy example. Let's say you owe $5,000 on a card with a 24% APR. That works out to roughly $100 in interest every month if you keep carrying that balance. Think about that. You wake up every month already owing another $100 before you've even bought anything new. Interest doesn't care if you're on vacation. It doesn't care if you're sick. It doesn't care if your paycheck is late. It just keeps growing. Just like we talked about in the last video, once the ball starts rolling in either way, it's hard to stop it. Now, that interest is bad enough on its own. But here's what nobody tells you: carrying that balance isn't just costing you money every month, it's also quietly working against your credit score, credit utilization, the number nobody explains. You've probably heard that paying on time builds your credit. That's true. But there's a second number working behind the scenes that matters almost as much: your credit utilization rate. Your utilization rate is simply how much of your available credit you're actually using. If you have a $5,000 limit and you're carrying a $2,500 balance, you're using 50% of your available credit. Most credit experts recommend keeping that number under 30% and ideally even lower, under 10%, if you want your score to look its best. Here's why it matters so much. Your utilization rate makes up a significant chunk of your credit score calculation. Second only to your payment history, a high utilization rate tells lenders you might be relying heavily on borrowed money, even if you're paying on time every month. So here's the part that surprises people. You can pay your bill on time every single time and still watch your credit score dip, simply because your balance was sitting high compared to your limit when the statement closed. This is exactly why maxing out a card, even temporarily, can quietly hurt you. And it's why some people with higher limits actually have an easier time keeping their utilization low, because that $1,200 charge is a much smaller percentage of a $10,000 limit than it is of a $2,000 one. The fix is simple, even if it takes discipline. Keep your balances low relative to your limit. Pay down what you carry before the statement closes if you can, and never treat your credit limit as a spending goal. Your limit isn't a target, it's a ceiling. And the closer you get to it, the more it can cost you, both in interest and in your score, the minimum payment trap. Now, here's where things get dangerous. Your statement says you owe $5,000, but the bank only asks for a $100 minimum payment. Sounds manageable, right? Wrong. If your balance generated about $100 in interest that month and you pay the $100 minimum, almost your entire payment disappears toward interest. Your balance barely moves. It's like running on a treadmill. You're working hard, sweating, moving your legs, but you're not actually getting anywhere. That's exactly why banks love minimum payments. They don't expect you to pay off your balance next month. They expect you to get comfortable making the minimum. Because the longer you stay in debt, the more money they make. Why do credit cards feel so easy to use? If minimum payments keep people stuck, this next part explains how they get stuck there in the first place. Have you ever noticed it's easier to spend $200 with a credit card than it is to hand someone $10, $20 bills? That's because your brain experiences less pain when you swipe a card. You don't physically see the money leaving your wallet. Instead, the bill shows up weeks later. Future you get stuck dealing with present use decisions. And that's exactly why people tend to spend more when using credit cards than when paying with cash. Good debt versus bad consumer debt. Here's something that I know a lot of people have different opinions on, so I will go over how I feel about this. Not all debt is bad. Some debt helps you build wealth. Buying a rental property, starting a business, or investing in an education that significantly increases your earning potential. Those are examples of debt that has the potential to produce future income. Credit card debt usually doesn't. Think about what people often put on credit cards: vacations, restaurants, clothes, Christmas presents, concert tickets. The memories might last, but the payments last even longer. By the time you're still paying for last summer's vacation, you're already charging this summer's vacation too. That's how the cycle begins. And once you see the cycle for what it is, the way out is actually pretty simple. The rules I live by now. This is exactly the mindset shift I had to make after my own wake up call in college. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's these 5 rules. Rule number 1: never spend money you don't already have. Rule number 2: always pay your statement balance in full. Rule number 3: never carry a balance just because someone told you it builds credit. It is BS. Paying in full on time builds your credit, not paying interest. Rule number 4: build an emergency fund so unexpected expenses don't become credit card debt. Rule number 5: treat your credit card exactly like your debit card. If you couldn't buy it with cash today, you probably shouldn't swipe the card. Credit cards aren't the enemy. Debt isn't even the enemy. A lack of understanding and discipline are. The banks know exactly how these cards work. They hope you don't. Because every month someone pays only the minimum. Someone else gets richer. Your goal is to become the type of person who uses them without ever paying interest. Never rely on the bank's money to fund your lifestyle. I wish someone had told me all of this back in college before that first card ever left my wallet. That's why I'm telling you now. If this video helped you understand credit cards a little better, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and let me know down in the comments what finance topic you'd like me to cover next. Until next time, keep rebuilding your finances, one smart decision at a time.